afternoon, and welcome back. Nothing like a bit of rock and roll to get us going after lunch now, huh? Thank you, Miss Ninja. That's one of my favorite songs by The Who. That song, for those of you wondering, came out on the 25th of June, 1971, almost 45 years ago. And it can still get us going like that. Isn't that great? The original name of the band, in case you didn't know, was the Detours. Yes, I am the classic rock trivia expert at Krux. I'm Vivek. Officially, I serve as Krux's Chief Technology Officer. And I can say without exaggerating that I have one of the coolest jobs on the planet. One where I can conceive, build, plan, design, market, and sell tomorrow's technology today. In a cool, dynamic, fun space, working with fun, intelligent, smart people such as yourselves. I'm a very proud Aries, easily excited, very emotional, passionate, and I wear my heart on my sleeve. Tom made some remarks about him being Forrest Gump, or like Forrest Gump. And if Tom's Forrest Gump, then I like to think of myself as the accidental CTO. I did not have a computer growing up. They were not readily available in India at the time. And even if they were, our family couldn't afford them. I was more likely to be found on a cricket field, or a football field, or playing table tennis. Tom's remarks about sitting next to me at the computer center, or whatever it was, took me back to a defining moment in my life. One where I had to pick whether I wanted to take the entrance exams for the Indian Institute of Technology or attend my interview at the Indian Armed Forces National Defense Academy. As fate would have it, I picked the IITs, and that led me on a path to pursue a degree in mathematics and computer science. The second defining moment of my life came was 3 years ago, I think, when I started working for a startup called Parsec in India while I was in college. And we were about 4 or 5 people, and we built India's first interactive voice response systems. And the time I spent at Parsec was really foundational, and it set the tone for the rest of my professional life. I was introduced to Silicon Valley culture, startup culture, way back in 1994. And since then, the whole experience of working with 4 or 5 people, building technology, creating technology, dreaming up new things was just fascinating. And I started having ideas about, maybe I could do this someday later as well. And then the third defining moment of my life, perhaps with some irony thrown in for good measure, came as I was waiting for the 5 US universities that I'd applied to get back to me. You grow up in India and anything can happen, as is pretty much the case anywhere in the world, but I don't know because I grew up in India. I wanted to keep my options open. So I got a job offer actually from Oracle, believe it or not, in their newly opened development center in Bangalore. Now, I don't know what would have happened if I had accepted that job offer, but I think it's safe to say that I wouldn't be standing here in front of you delivering this keynote. And while I don't like to dwell in the past, I'm an Aries, like I said, even if I did, I cannot imagine an outcome from my professional life where I would feel as intellectually challenged, nourished, and dare I say it, even happy as I am today. So my first job, actually, out of grad school in the US was at a startup called Imparto Software that positioned itself as a leading provider of web marketing automation software, whose integrated web marketing suite transformed customers' websites into effective marketing channels. Now, in case you're wondering, this wasn't 8 years ago. It was 18 years ago. Imparto was acquired by a company called Primus and then consumed by acquisition hell. But I was able to pull this out thanks to the Wayback Machine. No, your eyes are not deceiving you. The Imparto product suite consisted of a content management system, a campaign management system, and an audience management system, all in one integrated platform. This was in 1999. Imagine that, 1999. What the hell were we thinking? 17 years later, from where I am sitting, marketers still do not have access to an integrated system that combines content management, site personalization, and multi-channel campaign management and analytics into one seamless platform. So marketers and publishers face a lot of challenges still today. If you're a marketer, how many times have you heard John Wanamaker's quote? Half of my advertising spend is wasted. The trouble is, I don't know which half. John Wanamaker passed away in 1922. So it's safe to say that quote is over 100 years old. Let's pause and take that in for a second. 100 years. That's a long time. I'm sure you've wondered and had several conversations with your colleagues if you're a marketer about making marketing more inspiring, more relevant, more integrated, and more connected. Why is it so hard for a marketer to start with a list of customers from their CRM systems, run a machine learning model that can run through the various attributes of those customers, and using lookalike models or whatever, build a list of unknown customers that would be prospects for this marketer, and then run a multi-channel campaign across TV, display, video, mobile, search, what have you, track these campaigns with a specific call to action, collect all of the impressions, clicks, conversion, engagement, conversion data, and then programmatically identify the consumer journeys that led to the most conversions. And then also use that data to inform future spend across those same marketing channels. You can't do that right now, can you? Well, you can do it, but maybe not that easily. The issue is there are challenges. Now, in case you're a publisher, you have your challenges too. If I'm a publisher, why don't I have access to a system that combines content management and ad management into one system? Why do I have to rely on services like Taboola and Outbrain and corrupt and pollute my end users' content experience by showing them links to the Kardashians' lives after they just spent 15 minutes reading a very engrossing cricket test match report between India and Pakistan? Right? Why does that happen? I don't know. Why can't there be a system that detects ad blockers on site and provide those users with content subscription models that work based on their preferences? Now, you might be wondering, or might be thinking, that these are rhetorical questions. As a matter of fact, they're not. And in order for us to provide solutions for these problems, not only do we have to think of new solutions, but we have to come up with new ways of thinking about these problems as well. Now, speaking of new systems, Tom introduced us to the concept of the Intelligent Marketing Hub. And as he said, some of you may be thinking, wait, DMP, IMH, what's going on over here? Is Krux not a DMP anymore? Is that a bait and switch? Is Krux pivoting? There's nothing to worry about. There's not a bait and switch. We're not pivoting. All is quiet on the Western Front. If you may remember a time from the 90s, there were these systems called Salesforce automation systems that dealt with client contacts and interactions. You don't hear about SFA anymore, do you? Well, why is that? Because SFA was completely subsumed by CRM system. If you're looking for SFA software today, you just go to Salesforce and buy their CRM solution. You don't say, oh, I'm looking for SFA, just buy the CRM solution. Well, similarly it is with DMP. DMP, in our mind, in our vision, evolves into IMH. And I'm going to explain to you how that happens in the rest of my talk. So DMP is to IMH what SFA was to CRM. So why did we choose the word hub? We chose the word hub because hubs are key to understanding how our world was developed and works to this day. Just like the first civilizations, we trade, we form networks, those networks become hubs. And throughout history, being at that hub has meant one thing: that the amount of ideas that pass through that region has a direct correlation with how important they are. That's how important hubs are. That's how important we think IMH is to the future of publishing and marketing. So what is IMH, and why should we care? Tom alluded to this briefly in his keynote, but let's dig into what we mean exactly by the various concepts that Tom outlined. So first, IMH is complete. What do we mean by complete? When we say completeness, we mean we capture all the data. We don't operate in a world where we collect what we're told to collect, process what we're told to process, and then we discard the rest. Incomplete systems, or first-gen DMPs as we like to refer to them sometimes, implement a database design paradigm called schema on write, where the data that you write, you have to predefine the structure and the content of the data that you want to write. IMH, or Krux on the other hand, is a complete DMP where we capture, we store everything, and we make it available for analysis on demand. Krux implements a database design paradigm called schema on read, which is more modern. And the fundamental difference really is, with first-gen DMPs, you have to ask the questions first. Think about that. You have to come up with all the questions you want to ask of the DMP. That's weird, right? You shouldn't have to ask the DMP questions. First, the DMP should collect all the data and allow you to ask the questions later when you can think of them. So that's the difference between a first-gen DMP and Krux. Krux captures all the data, and you can ask questions of it later. The second thing with regards to IMH is that IMH manages multiple identities. Back to Tom's point about data as an asset, first-gen DMPs deal only with cookies and disconnected devices. Identity is fundamental. Today, we deal with a multitude of identities for a person. There's cookies, there's hashed emails, there's PPIDs, there's IDFAs, there's Android IDs, the list goes on and on, right? And so you need a system that can handle the multitude of identities together, and using a combination of deterministic and probabilistic methods, stitch them all together and create an identity for a person. You know, people talk about devicecraft a lot. We were working with devicecraft way back in 2012. That's how old and foundational our devicecraft technology is. And to this day, it serves as one of the most robust identity management frameworks in the industry. Why is this important? Why do you need a robust identity management framework? Well, because you're dealing with people, right? It's people data. People will perform research on their desktops and their tablets, and then ultimately convert or perform transactions on their phones. Now, so conversion analysis and attribution requires a DMP, or IMH, to not just capture the data about across these different devices, but you also need to be able to stitch those together and create an identity for a person. And then finally, the third thing that Tom referenced as regards IMH was this whole notion of data governance. Data governance has been fundamental. It's been part of our DNA since pretty much day one. The first product that we built, which I actually didn't want to build, coincidentally, because I thought it was too easy. Turns out it's way harder than I thought, was Data Sentry. And we've built on that. We've built on those foundations that we laid with Data Sentry and created a whole framework for software-enabled data governance. That's key, because as owners of data, as people, as users who want to transact with that data, you want a safe, secure environment where you can transport that data, not just back into your own systems, but into your partner systems as well. So you want the data management platform to allow you to do that. Link embodies all principles of data governance that we've had in our platform since day one. And software-enabled data governance allows publishers and marketers to transact using their data, buy, sell, trade, whatever they want to do, using terms, conditions, and policies of their own choosing. So all of that is great, right? We've captured all the data, we've provided environments to organize it, analyze it, segment it, what have you, but there's still something missing. We don't yet have tools to do anything with it. We don't have intelligence. We don't have a brain that is constantly learning, constantly modeling and predicting and generating insights and instructions that can be sent into different systems to turn that data into action. So IMH extends next-gen DMP, or first-gen DMP for that matter, by adding tools and applications for user experience orchestration. The other thing it enables is it enables the convergence of ad tech and martech by turning the compelling flood of real-time data that we collect using the ad tech environment into insights and instructions that can be leveraged in the more structured martech environment that deals with contacts, customer records, and CRM systems. So we now have a whole conception of IMH as a hub. It orchestrates consumer experiences for both publishers and marketers. And it has 4 pillars: completeness, identity, intelligence, and governance. What do publishers get out of IMH? They get access to a holistic system that manages content and ads in one system. What do marketers get? Marketers get tools to create and orchestrate inspiring user experiences by using tools like programmatic consumer journeys, global delivery management, authenticated delivery, measurement, and attribution. Now, I wish I could tell you that this was all easy. It's not. It's a major, major technical challenge because you have to balance all of these requirements. Their scale, you have to handle tremendous scale. We'll get into that in a minute. You have to do it economically. There's all sorts of integrations to do. You have to do it quickly. There's security and governance. And you have to be agile because our industry is evolving. We're coming up with new ways of doing things. And then there are our end users and consumers. And as Freddie Mercury said, I want it all. I want it all. I want it all. And I want it now! So yes, we want it all, and we want it now. Again, an old song, but it's very, very relevant right now. So just to get deeper into what we mean by scale, I pulled out this slide. It was published in the Wall Street Journal or in many other places. What happens in 1 internet minute? 350,000 tweets happen in 1 minute. 970,000 Tinder swipes. 2.4 million Google searches, and 2.8 million YouTube video views. Well, let's look at what happens in a Krux minute. We see 4 million user match requests. We see 4.5 million data collection requests, 1.5 million page views, and 600,000 ad impressions, all in 1 minute. That's the kind of scale we're talking about. That's why this is so hard. So people often ask me, so what is the special sauce? Can you explain to us how you've built this? What's the architecture? How can you deal with this type of scale? It's a long, long conversation, and if you want to dig into it, we have people from the Krux engineering team in-house here in Vegas. You should feel free to chase them down. There's Yas, there's Yakov, and there's Rupak. They'll be more than happy to answer all of your questions. But I think of 3 things that we've done that have set the foundation for our entire platform. That's quite unique in the way we did it, because we didn't have I don't want to say we didn't have a choice, but we started the company in late 2009, early 2010, and that meant a few things. So first, distributed storage. Anybody can go and buy disk drives and line them up on servers and create distributed storage. For us, what that means is that we have to pick the right tool for the job. So when we say distributed storage, not only do we mean a distributed storage system like Amazon S3, we mean different types of storage systems. And as you can imagine, completeness requires storage. Right, so this is why we have 4 different storage systems. There's Amazon, we use S3. By the way, all of our infrastructure is architected and built on top of Amazon Web Services. So you'll see references to Amazon everywhere in our technical presentations or talks or whatever. Amazon S3 is our persistent distributed data storage layer. We use Amazon DynamoDB as our real-time NoSQL data store. Different use case, different storage patterns, different latency requirements, completely different from the use cases that S3 is meant for. We use Amazon Redshift as our data warehouse to store all of the aggregate data that we generate and report on through our application platform, console. And then we have a proprietary system that we built that we call Bucketeer, which is a real-time activity processor that combines storage and querying to provide all of the real-time capabilities on the back end of our infrastructure. We have a patent pending for Bucketeer. It's revolutionary technology that we've built that allows us to capture, process, organize data in real time as it is coming into our system. So the second concept that we've ingrained and implemented throughout our platform is this notion of asynchronous computing. Now, all of you, I'm sure, have experienced asynchronous computing at some point in your life when you go to a restaurant and they hand you back a pager. You can go wherever you want to go and do whatever you want. That pager that they've given you is their means of registering a callback, which they can call and tell you, hey, your table's ready. Imagine what would happen if they operated in synchronous mode instead, where you're standing in line, and until the guy in front of you, the person in front of you, doesn't get their table, they won't even talk to you. That's synchronous computing. When companies come to you and say, hey, deployment of our infrastructure is very easy, just deploy this one line of JavaScript. Be afraid. Be very